Okay guys, so it is a little dark, so you're just gonna have to listen to my voice until I can get into some light. I'm walking from the movie theater. I was able to stay in a hotel last night. My funds are stuck in a stupid account because Stripe is being stupid, but it should come through tomorrow and then I'll have plenty of money for stuff. But until then, I will be staying in the car. Oh, well, there you go. I turned the camera angle on wrong, so now it's like that. So hopefully you can see me. Anyway, so I was just at the movie theater. I watched Argyle. Met these two really cool people, Hadrian and Maya. They said I could use their real names, so shout out, Hadrian, Maya. You guys made my night. It was really cool to watch the movie with you guys. Hadrian had dropped some popcorn onto my seat, and then I brushed it off and we just started joking around. And they're super cool, right? So they were brother and sister. Just to give you some context on their age, Hadrian was in high school when the original Star Wars came out. So he was born somewhere in the early 60s, right? But guys, it doesn't matter where we are. We can connect with people if we just do our best, right? Or he might have been in high school when the special edition. He might have been a kid when it. Either way, they were a bit older, but really, really cool people. And we just had a fun time watching Argyle. I will make a review about that movie. But I want to talk about friendship because I just come out and there was this one girl, she screamed. She's like, oh man, I'm going to kill myself because she lost her card, her mom's card. And she was with her and 3 of her friends, so a girl and these 2 other boys. And then she goes back into the theater to go look for her card. And then I watch while her friends are standing there for like 3 minutes outside. And like 2 of them were just still standing there while she's out alone looking for her card in the theater. And her friends are just waiting in the lobby. And I was like, and I asked them, like, what are you guys doing? Like, why aren't you going there? And I should have actually like tried to create a dialogue and engage with the kids. And so that's really my bad, right? I had a very draining conversation in the game today. You guys will see it in the podcast. I just had an extremely draining conversation. And so honestly, I didn't show up like I feel like I needed to for these kids. Because honestly, I could have just been like, hey, your friend's in there, she's looking for her card, you're standing here doing nothing. Why? And then just be like, because like guys, if your friend's in trouble and you know your friend's in trouble and you just sit there and do nothing, guys, you're not a good friend. Like, I'm sorry. Like, what good are you? If your friend's in trouble, you will actively watch and see them and you'll do nothing. And there's so many people who had that level of like friendship now. And it's like, frankly, bizarre and strange to me that people would even allow themselves to be around people like that, because that's just so strange, where it's like you can literally watch someone you so supposedly care about struggle or suffer and you don't feel any level of emotional pull. You don't worry about them at all. And it's like, I've had a lot of people who were friends, quote unquote, in my life who were like that. And I'm so glad that I got to see that, where it's like, oh, so when I'm struggling or you hear there's something rough going on with me, there's no anxiety, there's no worry, there's no stress. Like, I have one friend, he's kind of like, he's a pastor for a church. And like, he always worries about me when I was going through stuff, and I had to tell him not to worry. But that's when I'm like, oh yeah, this guy legitimately cares about me. And I feel really like good, because it's like, oh wow, he really cares about me. But there's some others where it's like, I can be in a real big bind and they'll be like, yeah, no, I can't help you. And they won't check up on you. They won't see what's going on. They'll just leave you to it. And then, you know, you'll catch up with them later and they'll be like, oh, hey, what's going on? Dude, people like that, forget them. Like, don't reach out to people like that. Like, there's one friend who recently I called, and because he's pretty weak-willed, especially when it comes to women. And this girl convinced him not to help me when I was in a tight spot. It's when my car broke down. And you know, he doesn't, like, that's the thing is, guys, you always say like they don't owe you anything, but it's like, if the idea of a relationship is built about owing and being indebted to someone and obligation, then that's not friendship, right? And so like for me, if I heard like a friend of mine or someone I cared about was in a stressful, difficult situation, if I couldn't help them, I would feel endeavored, or I'd want to do something about it. It would be very hard for me to hear that they're in a stressful, difficult situation, kind of just hang up my phone and do nothing, and then still call them my friend. Now, I will say my capacity for caring, especially intimately, has definitely been reduced as of recently. Like, there's some people who I'll be like, straight up, I don't care. I'm like, yeah, dude, I don't really care. Just because in terms of sympathy and difficulty, I feel like I've had a very difficult go at it, and I've really made the best of it. So in terms of sympathy, or like really trying to get down on that, I'm just kind of like, guys, like I've had it just as hard, not even harder, but my empathy doesn't go out to people who complain, who make excuses. And I was talking with a friend today, and it's frustrating because I love this guy, but he was arguing for his depression. And I was trying to do everything I could to talk to him, and he was just so adamantly arguing for his depression. And it's like he's just committed to staying in a hole. And he has all the opportunities and the resources to get what he wants and like kind of grow, but he's so committed to just like hating his life. And then after talking to him and listening to him for a while, like I said my piece because I felt like I had to, but then there's another part of me that's like, dude, if you want to argue for the depression, I'm always going to be here, but like I'm not pouring any more energy into that, because ultimately he just wants to be depressed. He just wants to be able to make excuses and talk about why his life's so hard and be like, oh, it's because of my mental health, da 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 da. And it's not to say that I don't struggle or like I don't harmonize with people who have mental health. But guys, I'm literally alone in a state with no friends, right? A month ago, I was dead broke. And I'm not saying like poor me, but that's exactly what I'm saying, is that if anyone has a reason to be depressed, I had a reason, right? And I didn't grow up with two loving parents who love and coddled me, right? I didn't grow up like I don't have any of those things. And you might say, well, okay, well, maybe you're more resilient because you had such a traumatic or difficult childhood. Exactly. So if my trauma made me stronger, why is your trauma making you so weak? Why is your trauma such a huge deal that you get all this support, all these resources, all these people pouring all this energy into you, and you can't get your ass up and move? Right? So there's just a level of like, fuck, like I just am like really just realizing people choose, man. People choose. And then like I see these kids there and their friend is struggling. They're completely absent-minded, like just so fucking self-absorbed. And I don't want to criticize people anymore. So it's difficult for me to unsee it, and I'm really, really struggling with this, guys. And so maybe this is a weakness of character on me. But more and more, I'm just really getting to this place where it's like, guys, like we're crappy to each other and we're crappy to ourselves, and we need to stop. And it is actually a decision. We can just choose to be better to the people around us and be better to ourselves. And what's difficult is like, there's no amount of love. There's no amount of anything anyone can do if you will not receive it. If you will not receive it and just open your heart up, it won't work. Like today I was talking with Roy, which you'll see in the podcast, and he was just draining. He was so draining. And I had to tell him, just like, dude, stop talking. Like, stop talking. You guys will hear that on the podcast. And I may send this video over to him. And it's just like, I understand you go through stuff and you have trauma and you have these difficulties. But at some level, you just have a choice to make. And you can up-level your awareness. And I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it won't be without pain. I'm not saying it won't be difficult. But I'm saying you owe it to yourself, and you owe it to the others around you. You owe it to society to do better. And you always say, well, I don't owe anybody anything. That's absolute nonsense. right? None of us make it here without our ancestors. None of us have anything without the people who built this nation, right? I was watching Boys in the Boat, and it's about these Depression era guys. It's based on a real story where the University of Washington Huskies junior team, which is all these guys who don't have a job and they're just trying to row a boat because they get paid and they get room and board to be on a sports team, go to the US and compete in the Olympics. And just all the trials they went through. And it was like so many of them didn't have rowing experience. They didn't know what they were doing. But the reason they crushed all those guys who grew up rowing is because they'd had real issues. They were dealing with starvation and difficulty. And they were like resilient because they chose to be. And what's sad is that you see in that movie, there are 8 guys. There's 9 guys that get picked. 1 is a reservist. But there's like 70, 200 other dudes that don't get picked, who are trying just as hard. They weren't as talented, they weren't as capable, but they were trying just as hard. And it's like, guys, have we gotten so soft that we realize is that living in a air-conditioned, heated house with, you know, pane windows and staying next to your wife and your kids with a blanket and a TV with a freaking supercomputer in your hand, that's not natural. None of us made that. None of us are entitled to that. None of us. We owe everything to the people who came before us. We owe everything to the people around us. We owe our society something. We owe our friends to be friends. How dare you say you're a friend and you don't show up for your friends? You don't get the right to say that. You don't get the right to carry the title of friend and not show up for your people. Like, one thing I've been getting really upset about, there's one particular person who's always like, I love you, I love you. And the next time I talk to them, I might say, like, listen, dude, I care about you and I appreciate you and we have a history together, but I don't want you saying I love you anymore, because consistently you have not shown up for me and you have the resources and the capacity, and there's all these fucking excuses why you don't, and I'm sick and tired of it. And I just watched a video from my friend. I'm gonna put I'll see if I can link his video in it, where he talks about mark my actions, not my words. And that's what I'm talking about, guys. We need to start marking who we are with our actions and what we do, and stop talking. Those people all saw a movie. Those kids all saw a movie. Their friend doesn't know she's in that theater alone looking for her card. She says, man, I'm going to kill myself. And her friends are idly sitting in the lobby looking through their phones. Like, that's fucking stupid. Like, that is such a tragedy. And it's not them. I'm not criticizing them. But I'm saying the fact that that is normal. And when I say, why aren't you guys helping your friend? They don't immediately get up and do it. It's like they're legitimately confused. Like, wait, why would I help my friend? They were legitimately confused. And I was like, I can't engage with them because I'm going to blow up. Right? But it's like, guys, we have to do better. You don't get all this privilege of a supercomputer and mattresses and working commerce and paved roads and all these blessings we have in the modern day without a cost. And if we're just going to sit around and do nothing, take the people in our lives for granted, and just be entitled and say, oh, I don't owe this person anything. I don't owe society anything. Yes, you owe society everything. You owe humanity everything. Because without your ancestors, without the people who paved your roads, the people who built indoor plumbing, without the people who discovered math, without the people who did everything that preceded you, you have nothing. You are nothing without that. So you owe everybody around you everything you have. So stop making excuses.